Hi, everybody. Welcome to MFSN, the hub. I'm Ross, the boss. I'm here with Flat to the Bone, Casey Shinefold. Casey, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody. How are you today, Ross? You having a good
We
time
are
in La La Land?
talking. I'm having a great time here in La La Land. We're talking running backs as I discussed, but we're also going to talk about fantasy football. And next week is D-Day. We got opening kickoff. Detroit Lions versus the Kansas City Chiefs, which I'm excited about, Casey. It should
Yeah,
be a
that's
fun game. I think the Lions are really improved. I think that's going to be a really close game.
yeah.
It's not going to be a blowout. If it was like 4 years ago, it's the Lions are going to get destroyed, and it would never be on Thursday night. The Lions would never play Thursday. But I think having the Lions on and having the Chiefs on, the world champions, that should be a great game. What do you think?
I like it. I mean, I actually think the Lions are an exciting team this year, so I think it could be a fun game to watch. We'll see what Patrick Mahomes can do with Sky Moore. That's the one we're all excited to see out of the wide receiving core. So I'm excited. Hey, it's football, right? It's back. It's so much better than preseason, so I'm in.
Hey, you're in, and there's no football. There's only college this weekend. I mean, you got a lot of big games this weekend, but in college, it's going to be great. They're playing like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, even Monday. I think there's a game because it's a holiday. It's going to be unbelievable. But let's talk running backs. Big news during the offseason with the running backs. All the running backs are whining about their salary. The average running back makes less than the average kicker, which I think is a disgrace. Also, I can't say that's a great move. I don't get it, but it looks like the NFL owners don't appreciate running backs. They don't pay them like the quarterbacks or wide receivers. I just think they feel they have a 3-year lifeline, and that's it. Most guys are out of football after 3 or 4 years playing running back. Casey, what's your take on that?
I think it's sad for running backs because they get beat up more than anybody else, and they get chewed up and spit out by the league, and they don't get, their prime years or their rookie contract, so they're never going to get paid the money they deserve. It is kind of sad. I don't know how you fix it necessarily, unless you give like shorter contracts for the rookie contract, but then the teams get screwed. I don't think anybody's going to give up control. And so I think if you're a running back, you just have to accept that you're not valued. I think you're going to see the best players moving forward not play running back.
Bless you. So I agree with you. Jonathan Taylor, still big news today because today's like D-Day for him. Either
he announce a trade
or they're trading him. I haven't heard anything. I've been watching all the news and stuff. I haven't seen anything announced yet. So if he doesn't get traded today, that means if he stays on the PUP list, which he's on right now, he has to sit out at least 4 games, which is huge.
That's crazy.
And I don't think he's hurt. I just think his feelings are hurt after talking to Irsay, the owner of the Colts. And Irsay basically told him, listen, if you left tomorrow, no one would care. And he said that to him. And I think
that's
he also said if I wasn't here, no one would care either. He put his name in it also. So there you go. But it was a little harsh to tell a guy that who put his whole lifeline into the team the past couple of years.
Oh, and he's been their best player for 4 years or 3 years, whatever.
Yeah, and he's only 24 years old. I mean, that's the thing. He's a young guy. So, again, a lot of stuff going. Jacob showed up to the Raiders, so he's back in good graces. I have him going kind of high with running backs. But as I mentioned, you are the expert when it comes to running backs. We are going to go through your list. I'll comment. I'll say yes, or I may say, I don't know about that case. But let's talk running backs, Casey. Let's jump right into it. Who's your number one running back to draft? Let's say PPR. Let's say PPR. Let's say why not?
I'm going to say
this is redraft PPR. This is your list. Let's go.
Number one is Christian McCaffrey. He showed what he can do in San Francisco's offense. That offense is kind of built for him. I think as long as he stays healthy, he's going to be dominant all year long. Number two.
Wait, let's go back to McCaffrey. I won't take him anymore. I'm done with McCaffrey. I mean, he gets hurt every year, and it's just disappointing. And he's on my do not draft list.
Okay.
I mean,
and I understand that.
I also have
him. I also have him listed on my bust list for the same reason.
So
I
love that.
The talent.
I love that. So McCaffrey, his ceiling, as you mentioned, is huge. It's high. It's probably if he plays every 17 game, he'll have the most points I think for any running back. But the key of that sentence is, Case,
17
if he
games.
plays every 17, if he plays every 17.
If he plays 15 of the 17 games, chances are he'll be in the top 3.
Yeah,
That's
top 3.
And that's why I think he's still a top running back.
Okay, so he's your number 1. I don't like it. I would just stay away from him. That's Ross the Boss talking. But again, you can spin that wheel. If he plays every game, he's going to be huge for your team. But I don't think he'll play. I'd say he plays half the season. That's my prediction.
There you go.
Who's number 2?
I am going a little against the grain, and I think you're going to agree with this pick. Nick Chubb is my number 2 running back this year.
Tell me why.
Because he's the complete package. Cleveland has a great offensive line. They have a good system for him. He can catch the ball now that they don't have Kareem Hunt trying to poach from him in the passing game. I think he can be a 3-down back. And I mean, the guy is the best pure running back in the league, I think, in terms of his ability to separate with speed and his ability to bruise and power through people. So I have him number 2. And unlike McCaffrey, he's one of the healthier and more reliable running backs as far as availability is concerned.
And he signed a big contract too. I mean, he signed a 3-year deal. He's happy playing in Cleveland. He doesn't have Kareem Hunt behind him, look behind his back anymore. He has Ford is now the backup, who's pretty good. But I like Chubb a lot. He's a 3-down back, which is huge. Goal line guy. He'll get the ball goal line. So going with Nick Chubb too, I think I love it. I mean, I had Chubb number 1 on my list. But number 2 is fine too. I mean, it's huge because everybody else has Chubb 6 or 7.
Yeah, Chubb. I've seen him routinely ranked around 6 or 7. I agree with you.
Yeah, me too. So who's 3? I'm curious to see number 3 is.
I have Bijan. That's where I'm just going with. I think 4 of the last 7 years, a rookie running back has finished in the top 3, and this guy's as special as any of them. So. Atlanta runs the ball as much, if not more than any other team in the league. This guy is a rookie, so he's not chewed up and spit out yet by NFL defenses. I just think he's gonna line up in the passing game. He's gonna run the ball. They have Tyler Algier to spell him every once in a while. I think this kid is really, really special.
I think you're right. I mean, they already have him in the Hall of Fame. I mean, they were saying this guy's in the Hall of Fame.
Well, is that not
even before he even touched the ball? His first carry in the NFL. This guy's a Hall of Famer. You know, this guy is unbelievable. But Bijan, I agree with you. I think this kid's something special. I think he has a chance to lead the league in rushing because Atlanta's going to just run the ball like they did the past 5 years.
Yeah.
And I think I can see this guy leading the league in rushing. I just hope they don't overuse him. That's a big concern I have for him. But I think Algiers will come in.
I think Algier helps.
Yeah,
I could see him getting 150 to 180 touches himself this year because they don't want to overuse him, meaning Robinson. So I think Algier might be the smartest number 2 running back to own.
Love it. Who's your number 3 now?
That was my number 3.
Oh, who's your number 4?
Number 4, I'm going with Austin Eckler. I mean, I don't like the way things are going in the Los Angeles.
You said it. You said San Diego.
No,
I heard it.
I didn't finish.
Oh, okay.
I didn't finish. But they use him. I mean, he averages more targets than most other running backs. He gets more touches than most other running backs, and he's dynamic. I think in a redraft league, he's my number 4.
Yeah, he's 20. I think he's 29 years old now. He's a little older. I'm worried about his health, and I just hope he doesn't get hurt. But the Chargers love to run him. They love to have him catch passes. They'll overuse them, which is fine. But if you draft him, make sure you get Spiller as backup too. That's all. And
he's had a great preseason. Spiller,
really good, and I like Spiller a lot. I have him in our league. I have both those guys. No, I just have Spiller. I don't have Eckler. But I think Spiller can get the ball a lot this year too. I think they have trust him now because he was fumbling last year. But I like Eckler. Who's your number 5?
5, I'm going with my giant, Saquon. I just think he showed last year that he was healthy, and he shows what he can do when he's healthy. They have a lot more offensive weapons for Daniel Jones, which can only open up more opportunities for Saquon. They invested on their offensive line. So I think Saquon, I had trouble with in some lists, I have Saquon as high as 3 above Bijan, but I just think Bijan's better for this year. But Saquon is my number 5.
And Saquon catches passes. He'll be a receiver. Jones loves him. I think the Giants will make the playoffs this year. I know they open up with Dallas, and they don't do well against Dallas.
That's a tough game, yeah.
But I think they'll beat Dallas this year. How about that? Who's your number 6?
Tony Pollard. Love the kid. He was the best running back in Dallas last year. That's why they were so quick to not re-sign Zeke. He did it all. He caught passes. I think he led the league in chunk runs, like large distance runs last year. He's explosive. He's only 25. Not a lot of mileage on those legs because last year was the first year he was used with any regularity. So, and as much as you don't like Dallas, you got to admit they know how to run a dynamic offense a lot of the time. So I think Tony Pollard is a pretty safe pick. I don't like the broken leg he suffered at the end of last season.
I'm worried about his
but
health.
But from everything I've read in the preseason, he's healthy. And so if he's healthy, he's healthy.
Who's number 7?
I am going Jonathan Taylor, number 7, even though it's up in the air. Obviously that drops if he's misses the first 4 weeks, but the guy could also finish running back 2 if he's healthy all year and they play him all year. So I don't think you can drop him out of those top 7 or 8. He's shown in the past what he's capable of. He was a number 1 pick last year or 2 years ago, unanimous.
I'm just worried about his health. Not his health, but I'm worried about him signing and coming to camp.
Yeah, obviously, if he doesn't make it onto the roster in time, I'm going to drop him and probably move up Derrick Henry or Josh Jacobs. Those are my next 2 guys.
And the backup, I think, is Deion Jackson. Is that the backup in Baltimore? In Indianapolis.
That's wow. You're showing you how long
he said San Diego, so I said Baltimore. So. So if you do have Jonathan Taylor, if you want to take him, just make sure you get Deion Jackson also. I think Deion's
any of these stud running backs, it's good to identify their handcuff.
I agree. So who's 8?
Well, I talked about it's I have a toss up here between Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs. I have the same worry for both of them, and that is just the wear and tear and what they're going to do this year. Josh Jacobs is a lot younger than Derrick Henry, but what did he have, like 300 and some odd touches last year? He was
the highest, most points in fantasy running backs last season.
And and his body could suffer from it. So, but you can't, there's only so many 3 down, undisputed number 1 backs, and he's one of them. All right, we have a question. Kyle Grove asks, in a full PPR, do you keep Damian Harris or drop for Raheem Mostert?
So I just think Cook's going to get a majority of those carries in Buffalo. I think Harris is going to be a drop unless Cook gets hurt. And in Miami, every time a running back becomes like available, like Jonathan Taylor, Miami's like the first team that pops up.
Yeah.
I would keep Mustard. They released Wilson recently. Their other backup, and they also released another running back. Also, they've been releasing a lot of their running backs they have on that team. So I
think they're both pretty similar, quite honestly. Mostert obviously is the number 1 to start the season. That makes him more valuable. But I can't tell you the last time I remember him playing more than 4 consecutive games without missing a couple games. And that kid, a chain, whatever how you pronounce it.
He looks good.
He looks awesome, and he's very similar in his skill set to Mostert.
Yeah.
So I could see that happening.
Mostert's I think legs are made out of paper mache. I'm not
sure what it is. Yeah, he gets
every year when he started in San Francisco and now in Miami. Every year the guy is hurt. It's like clockwork. And I feel bad for the guy. I know he wants to play, but I think it's just something genetically is wrong with him with his legs and joints. I don't know. That's a good. I want to get that guy tested and see if it's like a genetic defect.
Yeah, Kyle, to answer your question, and thank you for the question. I'm not entirely sure. I would have them both ranked around the same in that probably, I don't know, 6th tier of running backs, maybe even below. Just because of health reasons. Mostert is dynamic when he's healthy, but I don't know if he's going to be the pass catcher or not. And you're talking PPR. Damian Harris, I think, would get less of the receiving work in Buffalo because James Cook what came out of the draft thinking that he was going to be a really good Jahmyr Gibbs type of receiving back. So I would probably drop for Mostert, but I would wait until tomorrow to see if Jonathan Taylor is still a Colt, because if he goes to Miami, even though it's the rumor every year, if he does actually go, Mostert becomes waiver wire material.
2.
Right.
And again, Miami's so potent with their 2 receivers. I don't know how much they'll be running the ball, but we'll see what happens. Casey, who's your number 9? Is that where we're at?
We're at, well, I said Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs for 8 and 9.
Who's 10?
10, I'm going with Joe Mixon, your Cincinnati Bengal. I don't think he's a good pick for any sort of keeper or dynasty league, but I think he's got 1 or 2 more good years in him. That offense, I think Joe Burrow is going to be the number 1 quarterback at the end of the year. I think Jamar Chase is going to be the number 1 wide receiver at the end of the year. T. Higgins might be the best number 2. That offense is crazy good. And Joe Mixon will have 3 or 4, as you know, like 3 or 4 clunkers of games, but he'll have 2 or 3 games where he puts in like 3 touchdowns. And so his overall numbers end up looking pretty good.
Yeah, he's a thug. He had some offseason problems with handguns in his backyard, with kids involved. I mean, the guy's a really a bad example when it comes to like a football player.
Yeah, he got in trouble in college for domestic violence, didn't he?
He's just an idiot. So I won't draft Joe Mixon just because of that, because I look at their
you asked me who the top 10 are.
I know, and I'm just telling you what I do. So let's talk, anybody can draft the best running backs. The hard part is figuring out who the sleepers are. Yeah. And that's where you and I come in. And Casey, who's like a sleeper? Let me just define a sleeper first before I get everybody yelling at me. Say, oh, that guy's not a sleeper. A sleeper is somebody that is drafted later than he should be. So if we say a name, he's getting drafted in this, let's say 8th or 9th round or 7th, 8th, 9th, it doesn't matter. But he should be higher up, we feel, just because we feel he's going to have a great year. And there's a lot of circumstances why he should be better, obviously. Right. So it's just not like the 3rd string running back for some team. That's not a sleeper. That's the guy that's not going to be on the team probably within 6 weeks. So let's talk sleepers, Casey. I'll give you a couple of mine. Tell me who sleepers you have.
You go first.
Well, James Cook. James Cook averaged over 6 yards a carry last season, and he had there was a crowded backfield. This year, Damian Harris, as we brought up his name before, he's the only backup they have. And Cook will get the ball catching. He'll get it on 3rd down. He'll get a goal line. Cook is being drafted probably 7th, 8th round in a lot of leagues that have 10 teams, maybe a little sooner if there's 12 teams. But doesn't matter. James Cook, to me, is a great find. Another guy I like that's getting drafted late, but when he's healthy, he's a top 5 running back when he's healthy. But the problem is J.K. Dobbins.
Oh, yeah.
J.K. Dobbins is never healthy. But he looks good in camp. Baltimore's a running team. I don't care what you say about Lamar has a great arm. He had a great arm. But what the run comes first in Baltimore, we all know that's true. So Dobbins, to me, is somebody that's undervalued, and he just stays healthy, he'll be a top 5 running back. Those are 2 good ones. Casey, tell me who you like.
I agree with both of them. I'm going with, I'll tell you the stat first. Last year, where is it? Last year, over the last 2 seasons, there are only 4 running backs that have at least 300 receiving yards and at least 7 rushing touchdowns. Can you name them?
No, I have no idea.
Austin Eckler, not a surprise. Josh Jacobs, not a surprise.
He was
Joe Mixon, not a surprise.
No.
And James Conner, who is the only one of them being drafted outside the top, 4 or 5 rounds of a draft, and some of them outside the top 3. James Conner is considered like running back like 20, and he literally is the only offense right now in Arizona. Okay,
let me tell you, brought up Arizona. And it's like this is a chord for me. This is like a, what's it called? Not a chord, but this is a nerve.
To get you on your it's a trigger for you. You're
this is a trigger. You said Arizona, so they cut Colt McCoy, their starting quarterback that they thought was going to be the starter this year, because Murray's hurt, and he can't even play the first 4 games because he's on the PUP list. So there's no Murray.
Right.
So they cut their starting quarterback. And I don't think they want to win. I think they're going to just forfeit the season so they get Khalid Williams. I think that's the plan.
Well, they're going to have 2 chances.
I think that's what they're doing, because I never heard of a team cutting Colt McCoy who was supposed to be the starter, and they signed a guy like that week. They signed a new guy that doesn't know the offense, no idea what he's doing, and they announced him as the starter. And this, I mean, it's like a joke. So they'll be running the ball a lot with Connor. I hope he can stay healthy. I hope they're going to put 9 people in that box. They're going to stop the run, whoever they play. They play the Washington Commanders the first game in Washington. And Arizona's going to get killed this season. It's going to be pathetic. And I feel bad for some of the players because they have some really Hollywood Brown I love. And I love James Conner, like you said, but I would just stay away from the whole Arizona offense. I'm afraid, Casey. I'm afraid just because they want to lose. They want that first pick. They want Khalid Williams, which makes me laugh because Murray they're gonna have to trade. I mean, he'll be gone. And they did like a thing with Murray. They tested him. I read. I don't know if this is true, but they gave him a bunch of a bunch of tapes to watch, a bunch of,
and he didn't watch any of them.
And they put all this money in it. They put like a couple grand in it, like cash, and just to see if he opens it because they'll see all this cash. And they asked him like, "Oh, what do you think about the tapes we gave you?" "Oh, it was great." And they said, "That's it?" And they said, "Yeah." So obviously he didn't open the case up because there's all this cash in there. So. Right. That's a good test. I'm going to try that on you once.
I don't know if it's true or not, but it sounds.
I don't know. It's a rumor going around that. But long story short, so Connor to me, I like James Conner. I loved him in Terminator, but the problem is, it's just.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's
Arizona
not a lot of.
Arizona just wants to lose.
I still think we're at the value you can get him. He's a good number 2 running back. The other guy I like is David Montgomery in Detroit.
Oh,
Everybody is talking about Jahmyr Gibbs because the Detroit traded up to number 12 to take him in this year's draft. And he's certainly going in the top 12 running backs right now, I think, in most leagues. And he's going to be great. But this is not a guy who's built for traditional running back volume at the NFL level. He's a little more of a third down sort of change of pace kind of back. And David Montgomery is solid and steady. There's nothing sexy about him, but somebody has to fill that Jamal Williams role from last year. If we assume Jahmyr Gibbs is going to take the DeAndre Swift role and hopefully do better than DeAndre Swift did with it, Montgomery's going to get plenty of touches and probably a lot in the red zone. I think he could be a touchdown vulture, and I think he could put up some decent numbers this year, and you can get him in rounds probably 7 or 8 in the draft.
I like that one a lot, Casey. David Montgomery to me, somebody I've been drafting the 8th and 9th round. I feel he'll get enough carries where he's going to be valuable in fantasy football. And another guy, you mentioned a TD vulture. I mean, this guy's going to have at least 10 touchdowns rushing, is Zeke Elliott. I mean, I really feel that Belichick's going to use this guy.
And I'm a huge Ramondre Stevenson fan. So
I know you are.
This hurts.
And I think Zeke Elliott's going to be the goal line guy. I think they'll hand the ball off to him when it's within the 5-yard lines. And Zeke's a beast when it comes to that stuff. He loves goal line. So I think if you're looking for a late pick that's going to get touchdowns, Zeke Elliott's not a bad idea. I don't know. Belichick, I don't trust, especially fantasy players. I have no trust.
Yep.
But this is a late pick. If you have a bye week and you need a running back, it's not a bad guy to start. And who knows if Stevenson goes down? I mean, Zeke will be the guy. I mean, Zeke will get 20 to 25 carries a game if Stevenson goes down. And injuries do happen as part of the game, guys.
Yeah, my last 2 sleepers are guys I've mentioned already.
Who?
One, Jamal Williams. I just talked about him a second ago that he's not in Detroit anymore. Let's be honest.
New Orleans.
Alvin Kamara is going to be the one when he comes back, but he hasn't looked like a one in 2 or 3 years.
He looks like I didn't even recognize him last season when he was playing. He looked 20 pounds overweight.
And Jamal Williams, look, when he was in Green Bay backing up Aaron Jones, he was awesome. He goes to Detroit where he's supposed to back up DeAndre Swift. And guess what? He ends up being the better running back in Detroit. I think you're going to see the same thing happen in New Orleans, and you can get him in round 9, and then the other guy is Tyler Algier. Everybody is talking about Bijan Robinson, and I have him in my top 3. I think he's going to be, but this is an offense that only throws the ball 20 to 25 times a game. They run every other time. I think Algier is still going to get 150 to 160 touches as a running back. And that is enough to make you a viable flex or running back too in a lot of formats, especially when I've read they're going to have Algier and Robinson on at the same time so they can split Robinson out as a receiver. I just think they're going to get creative. This kid was really good as a rookie.
I saw him play live. I saw him play against the Bengals. I was there. And this guy can run.
And there's no reason for him not to be productive in the NFL other than the volume hit. And yes, he's going to lose some volume to it, but not as much as people think.
I love that, Casey. I like that. Another guy that's being overlooked, and then we'll go to bust, is Cam Akers for the Rams. He gets no traction. No one has any trust in him because he got hurt last year. But when he plays, he's like a top 7 running back. He's always up there when it comes to points. And the Rams don't really have any running backs except him now. They're all gone. So Cam Akers is somebody who's going to play all 3 downs. He'll get a lot of volume there in Los Angeles. And again, I think he's going to have a good year if he can stay healthy. But if you can draft him in the 7th, 8th round, that's good drafting. Well, let's talk busts, my favorite subject. And busts are somebody that you draft high, but they don't only play to their potential. So that's the definition of bust. It's not somebody if somebody gets hurt, that's not a bust, really. I'm not going to predict.
Okay, so we're going to avoid the injury bust.
Yeah, I mean, again, we could say McCaffrey because he gets hurt every year, and you're taking him number 1. I guess he is a bust. I guess you're right. But again, it's a combination of everything. Somebody that's just being drafted way too high, that you and I think that why are you drafting this guy so high when you can draft other people? You know what I mean? Do you want to? Well, I'll have you go first. Want me to go to first?
Yeah.
I think Miles Sanders of Carolina. I just don't have any faith in their passing game, and I'm worried about they're starting a rookie, and I just feel when you start a rookie and you kind of force him to pass, and they'll put 9 in the box, it hurts the running game. I think Miles Sanders can do everything. He can catch, he can run, but he's being drafted a little too high right now. And I just feel that he is not going to have the year that everybody thinks he's going to have. So to me, Miles Sanders, another guy that is on the depth charts, he's behind Gainwell, is Devontae Swift. I mean, they signed him to Detroit, and he's like 4th or 5th on the depth chart.
Yeah, I don't know if Penny's going to be the number 1 as long as he's healthy there.
Yeah, I mean, they have Penny 1. I'm worried about playing time for Swift because they do like Gainwell, and it could be a mess for anybody in Philadelphia for the running backs. They could just split 3 ways. Who knows? I don't know what's going to happen there. But, it's just don't – you could draft these guys, but don't draft them early. That's my suggestion. And, another guy that I potentially has a great year, but he's coming off a major injury, and I don't know how much he's going to be playing, is Javonte Williams of Denver. I love this guy, but he's coming off some major ACL operations.
ACL, MCL, and PCL.
It's like everything.
3, yeah.
And I know Denver's saying, "Oh, he's healthy, he's ready to roll. He's in camp, he's practicing." Doesn't matter. I mean, they're still going to be very strict on how many handoffs this guy gets the whole season. So
and that's why they went out and got Samaje Perine.
Yeah, and which I'm a Bengal fan, and he lost us to Super Bowl. So there you go. Don't like him, but again, Javonte Williams, yes, he's great, but no, he's not going to be playing 25 carries a game. He's very limited. So just be wearing that. Casey, who are some of your busts?
Well, when I was trying to decide who the busts were going to be, since we're not doing it based on injury.
Well, you can do it based on injury. You can give that
because I had Christian McCaffrey on my list.
Tell me. I mean, every year he's hurt.
Because you have to invest a top 3 or 4, unless it's a super flex league. You have to invest a top 3 or 4 pick on him, and if he only plays 10 games, that's way too much investment for 10 games of return, especially if he's hurt at the end of the year when you need him the most going into the playoffs. But I'm going to list Derrick Henry as my number 1 bust this year. And they have the worst ranked offensive line in football.
They do. Tennessee,
at the end of the day,
horrible.
Tennessee has an atrocious offensive line, and they did not do much to fix it. They drafted Peter Skoronski. The kid's supposed to be a stud. not many people come in and are a stud day one in the offensive line when they come into the league. There's going to be some growing pains from there. And it's not that I don't think Derrick Henry is capable of carrying 6 or 7 blockers after 6 or 7 tacklers on certain plays, but he can't do it every play, right? He's got it. You're going to get worn down if you have to play as a running back behind the worst offensive line. So that's one. And the other one, and I feel bad for him because it's not his fault, is Kenneth Walker III. Right? This kid was on the track on one of the considerations for Rookie of the Year. He was awesome as soon as he got the job in Seattle. He ran away with it. And then what does Pete Carroll do in the first day of the NFL draft this year? But go out and get Zach Charbonnet, another really talented, really powerful between the tackles runner. And that's just going to take away some of his value. But to draft Kenneth Walker, you almost have to 2 rounds later draft Zach Charbonnet, and that becomes too expensive to have like a 4th and a 6th round pick on one player. And so I just think those combined, I consider that a bust.
Yeah, I've been dropping Kenneth Walker on my draft charts. I mean, I picked Cam Akers before him last night. Yeah, because of that fact you just said. And I love the kid, Michigan State. He was awesome in college, but that scares me, especially with Pete Carroll, because Pete Carroll loves playing Pac-12 players. And Zach is a UCLA grad. So I really feel that they could be sharing the ball a lot there. Somebody else that I think this is a prediction, just Ross the Boss talking. Najee Harris. He'll lose his job by week 6.
To Jaylen Warren, huh?
To Jaylen Warren. I feel Jaylen Warren's going to be the starting running back by maybe even sooner. Najee Harris, his yards per carry last season was under 4. I mean, you can't be a running back and do that.
Yeah, he had a bad. I
mean, he was horrible. I know Pittsburgh's line wasn't that great, but I don't care. I mean, you can't average those kind of yards and be a starting running back. And Jaylen Warren has been looking awesome in preseason. He looked great last year. I think they have faith in this kid. I mean, they dropped a couple of their other running backs they have on the team from last year, and Warren's like the true survivor of that whole group. And I really feel this guy is going to be the starting running back, and Najee Harris is going to be a bust. And I do really think Pittsburgh's going to compete. Everybody has them last in their division. It's not going to happen with Tomlin.
No Tomlin's a good coach.
There's no way. And Pickett and all those guys
better this year. Yeah,
Pickens and Pickett, all those guys look better. They were all rookies last year, so they had a whole year to learn the system, and they just threw Pickett out there and just threw him through the wolves basically because he was not ready to be an NFL quarterback, but now he is, and he looks great.
The other running back you're going to have to draft in the first 3 rounds of a standard league that I think could disappoint you is Travis Etienne.
Tell me.
Well, Jacksonville has, as I said, with regards to Tennessee, a terrible offensive line, or not a very good offensive line. I think they're ranked 26th or 25th, which is pretty bad. Etienne is not a bruising style back. So he relies on a lot of PPR points. He relies on catches out of the backfield and sweeps and outside runs. And they drafted this kid, Tank Bigsby. And you don't have a name like Tank unless you're built like a tank and you are going to be the goal line back. And I think Etienne is not going to get many scores. I think Bigsby will vulture a lot of them. Plus, we know Trevor Lawrence is an ascending quarterback who you and I both think is one step away from taking that leap into superstardom. And they added Calvin Ridley. They have a good tight end in Evan Ingram. They still have Christian Kirk and Zay Jones. So I don't think I want to spend a 3rd round pick on a running back who's not going to get runs into the end zone.
Oh, I get it. And you mentioned Calvin Ridley. I know we're talking about running backs, but I feel he's going to have like 15 touchdowns this year. I think every week we're going to hear Lawrence to Ridley. It's going to be huge.
He reminds me of Cooper Kupp a little bit. Cooper Kupp, and neither of them are they're not the fastest guys on the field. They're not the most dynamic athletes, but they run, you watch them run their routes, and they run them so precisely and so perfectly and consistently. They just become easy to throw to, and it seems like they're open all the time. And so I could see Ridley being a top 5 or 6 wide receiver this year.
I do too. I like Ridley a lot this year. Just stay away from the gambling. Don't,
Yeah.
Leave
your phone at home.
Here's your clue to any NFL players. Don't download or have your friends download any betting apps. That's all I got to say.
Right. No underdog for you.
If you want to go bet, go to Vegas during the off season and do your gambling and get out of your system. That's all I got to tell you. Don't download any of these stupid apps. Not stupid, but you know what I mean. Don't download any of them.
You know it's not allowed. Don't.
But why you even like? I talked to Mark Cuban about gambling one time, and he says, Ross, I don't gamble, not because I don't enjoy gambling. It's just, for me to gamble and really win money, I'm gambling like millions of dollars. It doesn't make any sense,
right,
for me to gamble that kind of money at a casino. It's just I'm not there to gamble. A couple $100 to me is nothing. And it's just, and for these football players, it's the same thing. It's like you're betting a few $1,000s and you're making millions. What's the point? Except to lose your job, which he did for a year. He's an idiot. So, I mean, I'm not going to get caught. You'll get caught. Don't worry. They have surveillance on everything right now. You're being watched as they speak. So just be aware of these gambling apps. Just don't download them, NFL players. Do us all a favor. It's that easy. It's not brain science. Casey, any running backs that we missed that you're kind of like drafting later in the rounds that could be like a good sneak pick? I mean, I think Zeke Elliott to me is a good sneak pick. James Cook, I love. J.K. Dobbins, I love. Those are so. I mean, what do you think about Deuce? What do you think about Deuce Vaughn, the backup for Pollard? Is he worth drafting? I mean, is he somebody that
I think he's worth the dart throw late? You said Jaylen Warren. He's one of my favorite ones to grab late.
Okay. Who else is somebody that you're targeting late?
I said Algier. He's somebody who I've gotten
Algier's
late in a lot of drafts.
Algier's the guy from Miami you like, right? The guy that
Devin Achane, whatever his name is. I like Jerick McKinnon as if you're in a best ball, right? He's a great best ball late running back because he'll have those games where he catches 5 passes for 72 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's not going to, Pacheco's going to be the early down back, but Jerick McKinnon always finds a way to get his name on the scoreboard. So that's one I kind of look at as those late ones. I think Rashad Penny, if he stays healthy, is going to be really good in Philadelphia. Again, he's not going to be a stud, but you don't have to spend anything more than an 8th or 9th or 10th round pick on him.
Yeah. So he went to San Diego State. He came out of college. I remember he was a stud when he came out. Then he got hurt. He was hurt for
that's
like 2
what he's
years.
Dealt with every year. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he gets hurt. And I loved him in
he's
college.
Kind of Raheem Mostert-like in that sense.
Yeah.
In that dynamic when he's in there, gets hurt a lot. Khalil Herbert might fall into that same kind of.
What's your take on the Jets and Hall and Cook sharing the ball? Is Hall still hurt?
I think New York is worried about his mobility and stability coming into this season, which is why they were willing. I really liked Israel Abanikanda, the kid they got out of Pitt, the rookie running back there. I thought he was going to be fine, but Dalvin Cook, his best years are behind him, but he can still have 2 or 3 dynamic games when he's healthy in a row. It makes me worry a little bit about Breece Hall, but Breece Hall, we know in dynasty and keeper.
Oh yeah, no question.
Is an absolute maniac. In redraft leagues, it does give me a little pause. He's probably around 5 or 6 behind like J.K. Dobbins or Ramondre for me. But he's still ahead of Kenneth Walker, Javonte Williams, Khalil Herbert, those guys.
That's good. I like that a lot. I just feel I just feel that Hall is not healthy. I think they're kind of hiding that in New York. That's why they signed Cook, and I think Cook's going to be a good. Today was his first day of practice.
Aaron Rodgers makes everybody good. As much as I don't like him as a human, I can't deny what he can do to how relevant he can make a fantasy football team.
Yeah, if you don't watch Aaron Rodgers, he's on every Tuesday night on HBO on Hard Knocks. I mean, it's the Aaron Rodgers show. It's like you watch it and you want to see the rookies. You want to see the guys that might not make the team. Those are the guys I like. We all know Aaron Rodgers is going to make the team, but the whole show is revolving around Aaron Rodgers. They should just rename it and call it the Aaron Rodgers show. And
Hard Knocks with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, the whole, I don't know. They ruined that show. I'm so upset. It's just, I think I might quit watching that show after this season because now it's just bad. It's not the same show that I remember watching when Baltimore was on, when Tampa Bay was on. It was great.
Even Dallas last year was good.
Yeah. I mean, their access they gave them were great. I mean, the coach for Jets are not letting the cameras in certain situations. It's just it makes me angry. Well, the season starts next Thursday. We have our draft tomorrow live on MFSN, 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern. We're doing a live fantasy draft with 12 teams, and you guys are all welcome to ask questions and tell us how bad we're doing with our picks. We don't know the order yet till 30 minutes before, but if everybody's welcome to watch and give their opinion. It should be a fun hour, I would say. I don't think the draft will go that long. Hopefully,
no.
not.
Usually it's the basketball one that
I'm going to change. I'm the commissioner league, so I'm going to change the clock so it's like a 30-second clock.
Good, please.
You got it, Case. You just reminded me. Okay, well, I'm Ross the Boss. We'll see you guys Thursday,
hopefully
right?
Tomorrow night, but we'll be back
tomorrow
again.
Night, Thursday, and we're back
Thursday,
Tuesday.
4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific.
And next week, Tuesday, we'll give our picks in football. Not for gambling, Lose. Don't gamble with our
just
picks.
Our own projections.
These are just projections. We're having fun. Don't gamble, folks. That's a no-no. That's bad. But we'll have fun.
If you need advice, Ross is the best.
That's good. But we'll see you guys all next week. Thanks for watching.